A new video is dropped of the Phoenix Police Department helping another brown person on the streets of Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm sure that you have confidence that everything's going to be okay in Phoenix, right? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. I was scrolling the interwebs and the YouTube machine the other day, and I came across this video from ABC News 15. Now, it's not Dave Biscobing, which makes me sad, but it is another investigative journalist who details another video that has emerged from November 30th of 2024, showing Phoenix police officers brutally beating a Hispanic person whom they were called to help. Now, interestingly about this particular video, it happened 2 months after this groundbreaking city council meeting where the entire city council was like, oh, we've got to change something. The mayor came out and said this stuff that everything's going to change. We don't need DC lawyers. We don't need the federal government and their consent decree. We're going to fix it ourselves. And the police chief, I am shocked at the fact that the DOJ labeled us as serial retaliators and talked about racial disparities. Really? You're shocked about that? Well, just as a little bit of a refresher, let's hear what the chief had to say in his obvious attempt at authenticity, which he failed miserably, and look back at this story about how all these things were going to change before we go forward and see whether or not 2 months later anything actually changed. Let's check it out.
Changes are coming to the Phoenix Police Department following a city council meeting on Tuesday night.
We are making some very important steps forward related to public safety.
A long list of changes coming to the Phoenix Police Department. Things like new and additional training, higher standards for accountability, more thorough internal investigations, and the expansion of body camera videos.
Passes 9-0.
The City Council voting unanimously Tuesday night to implement new policy recommendations, but not before public comment.
Since becoming homeless 8 years ago, it seems like it's a criminal to be a homeless person anymore.
The Department of Justice report released over the summer says the Phoenix Police Department uses deadly and excessive force too often, discriminates against those experiencing homelessness, minorities, and people with disabilities, and has a failing internal investigation system. Phoenix Police Chief Michael Sullivan addressing that report and the changes he says they've already started implementing.
I, like many in this community, was alarmed to read the accusations from the DOJ of racial disparities in our policing. This finding is unacceptable. So we will take the necessary steps to ensure every community member is treated with dignity and respect.
Following Tuesday's policy meeting, a handful of speakers held their own press conference, citing the DOJ report as the only real reason for change.
How do these enhancements stop the brutality? How do they stop the violence, the racism, and the corruption that we've seen time and time again?
But there's still the matter of what happens next with the DOJ. Councilwoman Laura Pastor giving us a glimpse Tuesday night of where the council stands.
It's also clear that a consent decree probably won't be signed because several colleagues have, at least 5, have stated that.
Councilwoman Ann O'Brien appears to be one of them, saying Phoenix Police doesn't need federal oversight or a consent decree. While change is on the way to the department when it comes to reform, it does appear the fallout from the DOJ report may eventually be headed to court. Marissa Sarbach, ABC 15, Arizona.
All right, 2 months later, you get the gist of it. I played this in an update video a couple weeks ago when I told you the story about how their answer to this whole Tyrone McAlpin thing was to suspend these guys for 1 day, which essentially is just going to be covered with vacation time. And so, I have no confidence they actually care about this stuff, but it's more and more stuff. But this video is actually just a great example of how they don't care at all, because not only are they going to beat up the guy who needs mental health assistance, but they're also going to beat up any witnesses that have come along that might have something to say about it that they don't like. So let's check out the video from ABC News 15. And if you get a chance, go over to ABC News 15's YouTube channel, give them credit for doing the good journalistic work that they do to expose the Phoenix Police Department over and over and over again.
A Phoenix police call about a man who needed help ended with him covered in blood and facing possible prison time. Witnesses tell ABC 15, though, that it was the officers who were in the wrong here. Some of the the police video we obtained from this case is intense to watch, but this is a big deal because Phoenix police have been under pressure to reform how they respond to people in behavioral health crisis in situations like this one. 35th Avenue and Dunlap, Phoenix's west side.
Sit down. What's going on? Sit down. Sit down. Sit down.
November 30th last year, a 911 caller said a man was wandering in traffic.
What'd you do? Did you get hit by a car?
Officers stopped Joseph Zavala, and one later noted he had previous injuries, maybe suicidal, and had slurred speech like someone under the influence of illegal drugs. He needed help.
10-4, we're out with him. He's compliant. He's bleeding from the head, requesting fire.
When Joseph tried to stand up,
No, sit.
officers grabbed him and forced him down to handcuff him for safety reasons, according to their report.
Stop. It's okay. It's not okay. Please help me. Stop. People, help me.
The sound of the scream that I heard coming from the guy who was being tackled by the officer, I knew something wasn't right.
This woman says she was driving by. She pulled over and pulled out her phone.
It was just not humane.
The woman asked us not to use her name on TV, but said she did file a complaint with Phoenix police about what happened next.
Stop fighting us.
Police say Joseph was being combative, and 3 officers pin him to the curb.
Put your hand on your back.
So the first thing they ask him is, did you get hit by a car? And he has a wound on his forehead. And they mentioned that he might be suicidal. And then, of course, he's acting like he's under the influence of illegal drugs. But, you know, those symptoms are also parallel with somebody that has extreme mental health disorder. So somebody who's bipolar and off their medication and in like a manic episode can look very similar to somebody who's on some sort of methamphetamine or crack or some sort of an upper. But, you know, just go ahead and assume they're just a drug addict, homeless person, piece of shit on the side of the road. They don't need any help. He might have a traumatic brain injury, but they don't care because, you know, he's a problem. They're problem solvers, so they're going to solve the problem. Now, keep in mind that once they put their hands on him and they start controlling his movements, he is seized under the 4th Amendment. So they either have to have reasonable or articulable suspicion that a crime has taken place, which they clearly don't have. They believe they are assisting this guy either for medical or mental health. And they're going to pin him on the ground and keep him on the ground for safety reasons. That's going to turn into them beating the brakes off of him for his own safety. Let's continue.
Then the officers start using their fists.
As he's getting hit, I mean, you could hear the hit and blood is just squirting from his mouth, his nose.
We've blurred the video here as Joseph's face is covered in blood and a red pool surrounds his head on the sidewalk.
Oh my God! Why did you punch him?
We counted officers hitting Joseph in the head at least 10 times over the next 5 minutes.
I can't breathe.
One of the officers wrote in the police report that Joseph had grabbed his hand, so the officer started punching to prevent Joseph from further controlling his left hand and assaulting him. Another officer explained he punched Joseph multiple times, saying Joseph had his arm concealed underneath him and he was trying to break free.
Dude, and he was already on the ground with 5 of them on top, and they got to punch him?
So they beat him to a bloody pulp. And remember that they were there because they were concerned that he had been hit by a car and he might have a traumatic brain injury. And they have struck him in the face to where he is far more injured than he was when they got there. And, you know, just like many people have said, and it's been proven over and over and over again, there's not a single situation that a police officer's arrival cannot make worse. All you have to do is call them for help. And they can, I promise you, turn your life into absolute misery. And that's what they've done with this guy. But they're not going to isolate their wrath to just this guy. They're actually going to start trying to control other people who might be watching too. So let's see what they do to the guy who's completely across the street, who has nothing to do with this, who's not causing any problems. He's just standing up for this guy who's getting beat up by the police.
There's another witness. See him on the opposite side of the street, yelling at officers to stop. But then he comes closer.
Hey, you need to get out of the road now.
Officers go up to that man.
He's under arrest for obstructing. Put your hand in your Stop.
Police tasered him, then arrested him. They also told the woman recording to get back.
They don't want witnesses around. They wanted anybody who was recording or did not agree with what they were doing out of there. And if you didn't listen, they were taking you down. I didn't want to be taken down.
Phoenix police declined to answer ABC 15's questions about the tactics and the arrests that day, citing an ongoing internal investigation. Their current policy prohibits strikes to a person's head against a hard fixed object like concrete unless deadly force is justified. But that policy took effect in February, which was a couple of months after this situation. When do you try to detain or go hands-on with someone who's in crisis?
Yeah, so last resort. Last resort.
Ernest Stevens is a retired San Antonio police officer known nationally as Ernie the Crisis Cop. He talked about alternatives.
Well, when they sat him down, why didn't they just sit him in the back of the car? Just say, hey, it's safer in here, it's warmer in here, it's cooler in here, whatever. Have a seat in the car. I'm not going to put any handcuffs on you. You didn't do anything wrong.
Stevens says he's previously advised Phoenix police on use of force, and he emphasizes training, communication, and joint responses with medics and social workers.
But the majority of these calls are somebody that has lost the ability to cope, and they just need help being met in the moment and then being diverted either to a resource or just de-escalated.
Joseph was taken to the hospital, then jail. According to the police report, doctors found he had a broken nose and he suffered a possible seizure, although it's not clear if that seizure was before, during, or after the arrest.
Can you tell me your name and date of birth, please?
Joseph Douglas Savale.
And this is Joseph facing a judge. He's been charged with felony resisting arrest. The witness with that cell phone video says she's willing to testify on his behalf.
But I am not going to stop with this because this is not okay. And if nobody else is going to step forward, I don't know, but I am.
Joseph has a criminal record, a lot of it tied to substance abuse. Because of that criminal history, he could spend years in prison if convicted in this case. As of late last month, Joseph was in a drug and alcohol treatment program. Phoenix police say the officers involved continue to work, assigned to their respective squads. I'm senior investigator Melissa Blasius, ABC 15, Arizona.
Charged with resisting arrest, felony resisting arrest, when there was no lawful reason to arrest him. They did not have a lawful right to impede his movements. There was nothing about his behavior that was so alarming, at least not what we could see on the video, that would have given them any reason to believe that he was a danger to himself, to take him into custody for mental health concerns. None of that. They weren't even sure what was going on with him. They did not have a right to arrest him to begin with. He had a right to defend himself against people who were attacking him. And here we are, back to square one with these guys. They just beat up whoever and then they arrest this guy. They don't even give him 10 seconds to put his hands behind his back. They hit him with a taser twice, all because he's trying to stand up for this guy. Because look, we're in a place in this country where people are seeing these types of things happen on the side of the road, and they're like, no matter what happens with me, I'm going to stand up for that person, because if for no other reason, I want people to know that I'm here and I'm willing to subject myself to arrest to try to save this person's life who's clearly in a lot of danger. And of course, this guy gets arrested for obstructing and gets tasered twice. That's obviously a violation of the reasonableness under the Graham factors. I mean, there's nothing here that would justify them tasering this guy who all he's trying to do is lodge verbal disagreement with what they're doing half a block away, all the way across the street, moving traffic between them, a police officer between them, no reason whatsoever to arrest this guy. In closing, what is the answer? What's the answer? I think there needs to be a complete sweep of the Phoenix, Arizona law enforcement personnel from the top down. The mayor needs to go. The chief of police needs to go. All the leadership needs to go. The union heads need to go. The district attorney needs to go. Everybody in that area who the district attorney's not charging people for crimes. This is an absolute aggravated assault. There is no justification for what they did to this guy, and they're holding him on felony charges. He's poor. He'll sit there for months until he gets out, or probably end up taking a plea because he's incarcerated and he wants to go to treatment or he wants to get out. Somebody somewhere has to do something. And they're not going to do a consent decree because the federal government's going to come in and tell them what to do, and they don't want that. And so you've got to get these people out. You've got to vote them out. You got to start with the district attorney. You got to get the mayor out. You need a whole new slate of elected officials to try to take this problem seriously in Phoenix, Arizona. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. I hope you got something from it. Phoenix, Arizona is like a train wreck. I hesitate to even bring you videos from there, but it's like the gift that keeps on giving. And it's tragic, but There's no way to get anything done about it unless we continue to cover it, put the word out there, and let the people's voices be heard. I'd like to invite you to head over to our Substack community. It's absolutely free. The link will be in the description. If you'd like to join on a paid tier, that's something that's an option for you, but not required. We just appreciate you following us over and supporting what we're trying to do over on Substack. If you don't want to join Substack, maybe you don't like to read blogs, or maybe you're just not interested in following me to another platform, but you'd like to support the Southern Draw Law channel monetarily, I'll leave my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.